There are three sophisticated keys to getting unstuck. Does it feel like you're all over the place with your career and your family life? I mean, you're disjointed and somehow out of touch with who you are or even who you want to be. Does it sound like everyone else has a plan and is doing what they want and what they thought about doing, and that their lifestyle is right on point and all of those things seem to be eluding you? Okay, well, maybe, and this could be you had goals and plans, but you've given up on them because life has gotten in the way. I mean, you got bills, responsibilities, unkept promises, lack of support, and let's not even mention the trauma that is life. And that's derailed you, and it's derailed you from the hopes that you once had. Well, I'm here to tell you that you are not hopeless. You're just stuck. That's all. So, what if I told you that there are three concepts that will help you harness your emotions so that emotional triggers no longer keep you frazzled? You will no longer compare yourself to other people because you have increased self worth, and you will uncover the goals and dreams you once had, or even the ones you've never even identified. Welcome back, Sophisticates. Today, we're diving into the critical aspect of personal growth and sophisticated empowerment. See, this is emotional planner mastery. In this video, we're going to explore powerful strategies to navigate through those intense emotions that often feel like a roller coaster ride. So I want you to strap in and let's tame those overwhelming feelings together. All right, so getting to the point, have you ever found yourself in the whirlwind of strong emotions, feeling like they're about to swallow you up? Well, fear not. I have three concepts and I'm sharing them with you today, and they're going to guide you through the storm. All right. So, the first concept is identifying intense emotions. Intense emotions are those emotions that alter or influence how you think and how you behave. Intense emotions can change the trajectory of the outcome, okay, and how you respond to whatever trigger that intense emotion is related to. And you can't let your emotions just take you wherever they want you to go. I mean, emotional intelligence is about regulating your emotions and also identifying and managing the emotions of other people. And that's just simply put. So if you are out in this world and you're letting your emotions be triggered and you're behaving or thinking in a way that is only a response to that emotional trigger, then there's some planning that you need to do for your emotions, because how you think is so very important. When people internalize these intense emotions, it's not healthy. I mean, you get cortisol buildup. That's that fat ring around the belly. And we don't just want to have that for no reason, right? So you have to manage your emotions, not just because of how you show up or how people see you, but you have to do it for yourself. Remember my saying, your emotions impact your thinking, and your thinking impacts your behavior, and your behavior impacts your environment. So, not identifying these intense emotions damages your self worth because you're all over the place. You're constantly comparing yourself to other people. And it's not because they are somehow better than you or they know more than you. You just feel inadequate in some areas in your life, and you haven't taken time to focus on them, to manage them, to really plan how you deal with these things that trigger you from time to time. And developing feelings of inadequacy can easily lead to hopelessness. And when you have hopelessness, then you are truly stuck. The first thing you should do is recognize your emotional triggers. Because once you identify the things that trigger you after you get these intense emotions, then you're able to enact a plan. And self awareness is the key for you to even begin to developing a plan. A lot of times we fall into our default emotions and our default reactions, and we just tell people, well, that's just how I am. That's how I behave. But let me tell you, it is not. The true you is somewhere in the future. And if you use self awareness to really find out what you want, what makes you happy, you can then begin to plan to be a person that you aren't right now. You could become the person who can have the stuff that you want, who is able to do the things that you want to do, and they are empowered. That future you I'm talking about, they are empowered to use their emotions so they can develop a sophisticated lifestyle. And self awareness is the key to emotional planning because it helps you to prevent the thoughts and behaviors that once accompanied those triggers, right? So if you know that stepping into a particular situation or meeting with a person will trigger some intense emotions, then you can develop a plan to handle that. And you can let some of these triggers and some of these default emotions be a thing of the past by concentrating on that person that you want to become. Once you start practicing emotional intelligence, you become focused on your sophisticated self. The instances or situations that used to trigger you, they no longer hold weight because you are now becoming the you that has different goals and a desire for a different lifestyle. And that leads me to a process that really works if you're trying to identify triggered emotions so that you can begin your plan. And I call it pause, observe, identify, and let go. Pause, observe, identify, and let go. That's the strategy and the method that's going to aid you in pausing right in the middle of an overwhelming emotion. You could observe the nature of that emotion and identify that emotion without judgment, and then let it go. You can get rid of it because the thoughts associated with that emotion no longer matters to the person that you are becoming, because your emotionally intelligent self understands that there is some reason why you were triggered, and you're going to find out what that reason is so that you can address it. And that brings me to the point number 2: understanding the emotional landscape. And you do that by emotional intelligent contemplation. I love the word contemplation because it's deeper than just thinking about something. Contemplation means that you intentionally set aside time to think about it. And more specifically, to think about you and your emotions. So let's explore the concept of introspection and its role in understanding emotions. See, emotional sophistication is learning how to present in the moment and acknowledge emotions without being consumed by them. I can see that I'm feeling a certain way. I don't have to react to it. And I don't have to react in a way that I did in the past because now I can handle myself. Okay. And the other thing that is so key when you're triggered by emotions, especially when it's something having to do with someone else, is that it's not all about you. Their behavior, their thinking, and their emotions are not about you. So, with that being understood, you can navigate that differently. See, emotional intelligence is also about recognizing the emotions of other people. And when you can pinpoint that, hey, there's something going on with her. And, I don't know what it is right now. And her behavior isn't typical, but I'm going to let that slide just for a moment because I recognize that the behavior or the attitude or the response that she gave me isn't about me. Then I can let it slide. And that's what true sophistication is. Okay. But let me explain the word contemplation. And this definition is from Mark Lockwood. He's the author of The Power of Contemplative Intelligence. Contemplative intelligence gives us the ability to recognize, to understand, and to executively manage our own mind, manage our body and emotions, and in so doing, manage the relationships and social interactions at an advanced level. And that becomes our norm. And so, what he's describing is one of the well known characteristics of sophistication. And it starts with self awareness because self awareness, honey, is the superpower to navigate the roller coaster of life, particularly the triggered emotions that get you stuck. And some of those emotions are inadequacy, fear, and fear is a whole other conversation, confusion, and hopelessness. Self awareness keeps you focused on your self worth and sophistication because self worth shows up when you're not even expecting it. Once you start developing self-awareness, the things that you want, the things that you desire, the way that your reputation, how you step into the room matters to you now. Okay, you have elevated yourself to a level of sophistication emotionally. Let me tell you the story about one of my clients, and she just shared this with me on Sunday. So she had been building up to a surprise party for a relative of hers, and it was out of town. Now, she had trepidation about going to this event because in the past, the relationship between this relative and his wife was strained with her. They perceived her or viewed her in a certain way, and they acted on it. They didn't treat her all too kindly or give her the respect that she deserved just for the sake of being a human and a relative to them, not to mention some of the things that she had achieved on her own. She deserved more respect. And, the relationship wasn't one of a superiority. It shouldn't have been, but there were some other past traumas and things woven into that relationship that didn't allow it to flourish as it should have. So she separated herself for a while. So this would be the first time that she would be seeing these same people who had emotional toil in her life, had placed emotional toil in her life previously. She'd be seeing them again. So we had spoken before this event, and what I shared with her was that, listen, you are a different person now. Once you left that situation, you knew that you could cope. You came to some realizations about the status of the relationship, how they saw you, and your ability to navigate your emotions in a way that not only allowed you to recognize that you had to leave that situation, but you actively made a plan and executed it. You didn't get stuck, right? So let me tell you about her triumph at this event. When we talk about emotional intelligence and recognizing that it's not about you, once you come to that realization, you start seeing things with new eyes. Things become clearer. It's like you almost have an epiphany about certain situations. And that's what she did. She got to the party and she recognized that the woman in the relationship that really kind of had a personal thing for her had that because she felt inadequate in some ways about herself. After stepping away and coming back into the situation, my client could see that, you know what? It wasn't about me all along. It was really about her and how she viewed me, and more so about how she viewed herself. And that in turn impacted the relationship for the three of them in total because her influence on the other person in the relationship was different. So he acted on her behalf, so to speak. Okay. But I am so proud of my client because she applied the things that I'm sharing with you right now. She applied the bling concept. She also applied the self gut check. And we're going to talk about the self gut check in a little bit. Okay. She used emotional planning techniques to outline an emotional landscape. She didn't come to this event without her plan in her pocket or in her pocketbook. She was ready. Okay. This technique helps you to understand the patterns of intense feelings so that you can navigate and know the root cause of your emotions. So you can manage yourself in awkward and intense situations, and then it's easy. It's not something to have anxiety about. You can step into rooms and know with confidence who you are. All right. That's another level of sophistication. I can help you get there. All right. But through contemplation, you are able to examine intense situations with new eyes. You see it different from a different perspective. It's not like you thought it was because your viewpoint was covered by the emotions that you were feeling. Again, emotions impact thinking. Thinking impacts behavior, and behavior impacts your environment. If you remember it's not all about you, then you are golden. You're already taking one of the steps that you need to get unstuck. Okay. Third one, and this is the third one here, managing overwhelming emotions. And that's what I mentioned earlier about emotional planning. So you're either going to be a triggered responder or an emotional planner. So we can move out of the triggered responder portion and get to the emotional planning immediately. And you might have to do the emotional planning on this emotion, on that emotion, when you deal with this person, when you're in this certain type of environment. But with contemplation and introspection and self awareness, this will become something that you can do in a short period of time. And I'm telling you, when we talk about that self gut check, you're going to have that in your pocketbook as well as a tool in your emotional arsenal. All right. So here's what we do. When you practice emotional planning, you delve into the practical strategies to manage overpowering emotions effectively. And you can use methods such as prayer, breathing exercises, journaling, and my aforementioned self gut check to regain your emotional balance. So, let me just briefly explain what the self gut check is. Now, listen, I've talked about this in other videos, and I've even delved into it even deeper in my book, Brains and Baubles Do What Works for You. But I'm going to give you just the snippet of it right now. The self gut check is a tool that you can use at the drop of a dime. You see yourself in a confrontation or in a situation where you know it's going to be emotionally intense, you know that the self gut check will help you regulate yourself and get you the opportunity to decide how you're going to respond in the moment, whether or not this is something that needs to be addressed at a later date, whether you need to be assertive and really tackle this right here, right now, or if you can look at the person who you're having a confrontation or some kind of issue with and recognize that their issue is not with you, the self gut check will help you minimize either escalating that situation or making you look bad or just being wrong altogether. So the self gut check is something that you need. And I mean, I use the self gut check on a daily basis with my family, especially with my husband. With my child, with my sister, with my mom. The self gut check is used at home and in the community. Once you start using the self gut check, it elevates how you're perceived as a communicator. Okay. Because you take the you out of it, right? You have that covered. You decide in that moment how you're going to react. And that's part of emotional planning. It all leads up to this great, powerful force, and that's resilience. Pushing through and taking ownership of your part of your emotions helps to build resilience, emotional resilience. It enables you to bounce back from challenging emotions and situations that once made you feel disjointed and stuck. Okay. So once you start operating in sophisticated empowerment, you are emboldened to face new and more difficult challenges in your life, and they're going to come. Listen, if you are focused on being someone who is more sophisticated than you are now, has bigger goals than you have right now, wants to do more things, or even wants to just change their lifestyle, you're not going to be the same person who was triggered by those old things. Those old things won't matter anymore. They won't. They'll be part of history. They'll be part of your history that you have let go because you know the strategy, right? You've made a plan to do something different and recognize your part in this. You no longer are triggered by the same things. Now, when situations arise, you have three surefire concepts to handle your emotions. So remember, sophisticates, emotional planning mastery isn't about suppressing emotions, but about understanding and managing them effectively. By implementing these strategies, you can navigate through turbulent emotional waters and emerge stronger and more empowered with sophistication on the other side. Don't miss my upcoming videos. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on my latest strategies for emotional intelligence and sophisticated empowerment. Until next time, stay emotionally savvy and keep thriving.